What's going on, everybody? How are we doing tonight? It is Chips and Dish here on All About the Birds. You know, like right as we went live, right? Everyone sees it right about the live. I'm just like jacking my kid out of the frame. Super professional, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the first time we've had a kid live on the air so far, I think.
Oh, God.
Johnny's kid did turn the lights out in the middle of a show once, but that was about it.
We are joined here on the All About the Birds Network by Villanova legend, Kris Jenkins. What is going on, my friend? Happy trade deadline night.
Hey, man. Happy trade deadline night. Thank y'all for having me. I'm excited, man. Talk some good hoops.
That's right.
That's what we're going for. So, listen, just to let everybody know how this happened, right? Kris and I, we're workout buddies. We like to work out at the crack of dawn. And now I messaged him. He was like, yeah, I'll talk some hoops. And here we are. So we're going to get into everything, the trades that did and did not happen. We're going to look at the second half of the season and see how the Sixers have positioned themselves. And because we got you here and it's March Madness, we got to talk about the shot. So we got a lot of stuff going, and we got comments that are going to roll in all night. So let's get into it. In your mind, what was the biggest trade of the day?
Wow. Biggest trade of the day. I mean, I guess we can say the biggest trades didn't even happen. So, you know, I think there was some decent trades, but the biggest trade on the day, I guess we could say Orlando unloading their entire squad. I guess that's like the biggest play so far.
Yeah, that was something. That was I know Orlando. You know they're rebuilding a little bit. Jason saying what's up and welcome.
What's up, Jason?
I know Orlando's kind of rebuilding, but for them to unload all stars and it says a lot about what their current vision of everything is. I mean, they're in a straight rebuild now.
Yeah, they gotta be. I mean, they put a lot out there. They let go of some really, really good players in that league. So it's
do you think the return is good?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, their return that they got back compared to some of the other trades, you got a lot of nobodies getting traded and second-round picks. I mean, they basically got rid of Vucevic and Gordon. They got 3 first-round picks. You know, Wendell Carter, Gary Harris, you know, last year's first-round pick, RJ They got a lot of picks and young players. So I think the Magic, it was surprisingly they got rid of so many players. But I think compared to at least what Houston's doing with their roster, kind of seems like they at least have some form of a rebuilding plan right now there in Orlando.
I mean, weren't we kind of saying that about Boston a couple years ago about how they had these young guys and they got these players and they got 1,001 draft picks and they like 6th or 7th in the East. Like they is done. Like I'm not a big proponent of trading good players. I don't think that's how you get good because draft picks are. They're draft picks, you know. People miss in the draft more than they hit. So
and that's so big. And I'm so glad that you said that because you're stockpiling picks. But you look at so let's jump into the Sixers for a second. The Sixers made one move. All right. The Sixers made one move, and they were apparently, one of the front runners for the Kyle Lowry trade, which never happened. So you want to talk about a big buildup with a major letdown. I'm fine with Kyle Lowry not being a Sixer tonight based on what the rumor was that they were asking for.
Yeah, what they were asking for was a lot, was a whole lot. And I find that interesting, man. Like, this is the second time we've seen Sixers in trade talks, and teams have been trying to crack them over the head.
Yeah,
like Houston was trying to dismantle them too, but then traded them to Brooklyn for, I don't
everything.
Tell me.
They trade him for everything, and then you look at what Houston did today, where they dump off Oladipo. So basically, what positive moves has Houston made this season?
Yeah, and like with their new coach, like how bringing him into that situation, like how you gonna bring somebody into a funky situation like that, man? Any coach, like especially a first year coach that waited 20 years for the opportunity. This is the job you gotta take. A job where they go on a 20-game losing streak. You know how hard that is
to lose 20 games in the NBA.
I mean, I've lost 20 games before in softball, in men's softball league, so I know what it's like to lose 20 times. I think we lost 23 in a row that year, so I know what it's like to lose that many times in a row. It sucks.
Yeah, that's unbelievable, man. Like that's an incredible streak.
Right, but you think about it like this. So I flash back a couple seasons ago to the process of the Sixers, right, where it was a plan move. When they started winning more than 2 games in a row, they're like, let's get somebody off this team. We can't have this. This seems a very similar move to that. Like Victor Oladipo was the only player, again, coming off a pretty serious injury, but he was starting to put some things together, and they're like, get rid of him. Just dump him off. We can't have him on this team. It
just didn't make sense, man. Some of these moves that these GMs make, man, it blows my mind for sure.
All right, so let's talk the Sixers move, and then we'll get into the rest of the East and then the West. So the Sixers make one move. They trade for George Hill and some guy from the Knicks who I can't pronounce his name, Ignas Bradaiskis. We're going to call him Iggy Part 4. And they don't give up a ton. The only big thing that I think they give up is Tony Bradley, who right now at this point, because of Embiid being hurt, that move does hurt a little bit.
Yeah, he was playing well too.
He was playing real well.
But we've seen a lot of backup centers play well in short little spurts. I mean, everybody was up in arms when the Sixers didn't, bring back Norvel Pell last year. I mean, he's not doing anything this year. Your third string center, if you're really upset about giving up your third string center for a piece that's going to contribute on a playoff rotation, then I think you got bigger issues. So I actually think they capitalized on Tony Bradley's value, what might be at its peak right now. And they've got a guy for the next year and a half because he's here next year as well, George Hill. I'm a huge George Hill fan. I wanted George Hill 2 years ago on our bench. So I think George Hill is a great piece. I mean, he's a good shooter. He's a good backup point guard. He hits the 3. So he's got really good playoff record numbers, hitting it as well.
Yeah, I think he's gonna contribute for sure. I definitely think the Sixers won that trade without a doubt because they got better. So, and when you make trades, you always want to get better. You don't want to make trades and go in the wrong direction.
So here's my question. So, like, what's it like as a basketball player when you're forced to play out of position? Shake Milton has been forced to run the point of the second unit. He can't do what he naturally wants to do, and that's just shoot and score. That's what he's best at. And I think bringing in George Hill frees up Shake Milton. Now Shake Milton doesn't have to worry about running the offense with the second unit. He can just go out and do what he does best. And I think that's actually the most underrated part of this trade is it's going to help Shake Milton a massive amount the rest of this year and next year going forward.
Yeah, that's why it's good to have somebody around like Doc and that can give good input on how good teams are built. To have guys playing their natural position to do the things that they know that they're good at. That's why they're at the level that they're at. I got here by doing the things that I'm great at. And when I got to play out of position or switch up this and do that, it has an effect on, their style of play and how they perform.
Now, you being on, these that Villanova squad, how much, look, we always talk about leadership and veteran leadership and things like that. So you guys had experienced players and it carried over into a championship win. So now looking at the Sixers, where it's Dwight Howard, playoff and championship experience, George Hill, playoff experience, how much does that push Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris to that next level?
I mean, it definitely helps because those are guys that can hold them accountable. Right. One thing I know about basketball players is, everybody's like, oh, it's a player-driven league and this and that. Basketball players are pampered and da. Basketball players are big on respect. Like they respect Doc Rivers, so they listen to him. They didn't necessarily have a lot of respect for Brett Brown, especially coming towards the end. So everything he's saying is falling on deaf ears. They tend to respect guys that have been in their shoes a little more, just because they probably understand them more. And respect is big. So when you got guys around you, players that have played at the highest level, won a championship, played with LeBron James and etc., they know the standard that it takes to be not only a successful team, but a championship team. And they can hold you accountable when you're the best player. A lot of things are expected when you're the best player.
Absolutely. And my dog agreed with everything you just said. Because it was absolutely accurate. It was like right on cue. Scooby had to weigh in. So Phil took some time and he kept his chicken scratch and he wrote down some of the top trades of the day. So Phil, what I would like you to do, if you can decode what you wrote.
I could decode it. I'm the only one that can decode it.
So I would like Phil to share out a trade, and then Kris, myself, and Phil, we're going to break down the winners and the losers of some of these trades.
I'm going to announce. I didn't know you were going to ask that, but I'm going to say the trade that's getting the least amount of talk, in my opinion. Because it's a steal. Well, not a steal per se, but I love this team actually making a move, and that's the Blazers getting Norman Powell from the Raptors. Yep. They gave up 22-year-old Gary Trent and Rodney Hood, and that's it. And I think Norman Powell being added to Dame Lillard, my favorite non-Sixer player in the NBA, does not get enough support there in Portland. I think that's a huge move for them, and they're just giving up two guys that are bench pieces to dress it. I mean, he's shooting 43% from three right now, Norman Powell. So I think it's I love the Blazers. I love Dame Lillard. So I think that's a huge trade right there.
I tend to agree. That helps them. They got better. I feel like they got better, and especially being in the Western Conference, they're playing well. They're getting guys back from some injuries, so I feel like they're gonna try to make a push. So they're they definitely won that trade for sure.
I think I do. I agree. I think they didn't give up a lot. I think they got
There's not one pick involved. I know you said, Kris said, picks, they're hit or miss and all, but they literally gave up two bench pieces that, Rodney Hood's old anyway. He's going to be gone at the end of the season or older.
I mean, he can still play. But
he's okay.
To bring in a guy like Norman Powell, not give up any picks, and to give Dame Lillard a piece like Norman Powell. And remember, CJ McCollum is still on that team. So that's now adding yet another shooter. So Portland is loading up with shooters at this point, which in the West is a way to beat some of these teams that have some excellent guard play.
Yeah, because, man, hey, listen, the Western Conference is insane, man. It's been tough, obviously, for the past couple years, but I just feel like it just keeps getting better. Like, I feel like, KD and those guys left, but I feel like the point guard spot, the spot where you have to be really, really good to win now, they are you gotta be on something out there in the West, man.
All right. Another trade, a little confusing to me. I'm not sure why it went through and what the thought process is. The Hawks have been red hot. Clippers are still, a sleeper favorite in the West. The Clippers traded Lou Williams in 2 seconds for Rajon Rondo. And I know playoff Rondo is way different than regular season Rondo, but you gave up a scorer for Rondo, just basically a floor general. I'm not sure if I understand that trade personally.
Yeah, that's one that's I don't know, guys. That's one that's
I mean, I'm sure Lou Williams happy to go back to Atlanta.
That one like this too. Like I was scratching my head on that one. Like Atlanta definitely they got Lou Will and 2 picks. Like I know the picks can be hit or miss, but the fact that that's what they got. You know, like for Rondo, who's like you guys said, a little older player now, a floor general, not really a scoring threat. But where Rondo can really, really help the Clippers is if he can keep those guys mentally strong. Like if he can do that for those guys, that'll probably benefit them way more than his scoring will, for sure. I feel like
the big thing that I heard about this deal that Lou wanted to go back and get some more of those wings.
Hey, lemon pepper Lou, he ain't lying.
Are you the first person to make that joke today, Chip?
No, not a chance.
I might have seen it at least 100 more times today.
Absolutely. So
lemon pepper Lou Williams.
The thing about this deal to me that stands out the most, look, I'm trying to rationalize because Lou Williams, ever since leaving Philadelphia, has turned into a straight just scorer, doing what he needs to do. 6th man of the year. I mean, he's a good NBA player. Rajon Rondo is an assist machine. So the only way that the Clippers are kind of saying, hey, this is why we're making this move, is because it takes Kawhi from bringing the ball up. It takes Paul George from bringing the ball up. It forces Rajon Rondo to be the facilitator, whereas Lou Williams was still looking to score. I don't understand the thought process of taking points off of the board, personally. And then now, with Atlanta now has him playing alongside Trae Young. I mean, that's a pretty 1-2. It's a pretty solid 1-2 combination. So I think personally Atlanta wins this deal, but we also know with LeBron being injured right now, it reopens the West to anybody can claim it.
Yeah.
No, that's an absolute fact. But are we expecting the Clippers to do it? Like even after this trade, is that who we're expecting to take over the West? While LeBron
I don't think anybody takes over the West. I still think the Lakers are the West. I mean, we'll get into our second half predictions, but I still think that even if the Lakers fall to the 5th or 6th seed, no, if they get LeBron healthy and AD healthy, there's nobody going to stop them in the playoffs.
I mean, look, Kawhi Leonard is
man.
Well, right, and that's a whole nother conversation. Is all these players went, all right, you didn't trade me, well then cut me. Like LaMarcus Aldridge is a free agent right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
LaMarcus Aldridge is a free agent.
I don't
when the Sixers need a stretch fork like they currently do, love me some LaMarcus Aldridge.
Guy's a little long in the tooth at this point. A little slow. He doesn't stretch the floor that much. He's more of a 12, 14-foot jump shooter. I don't want no LaMarcus Aldridge. I'm happy.
Well, it's fine. He's going to Miami anyway. They've already pre-dotted that contract.
Yeah, exactly. The other trade, because this is a guy I did want to get bought out, but he did get traded for next to nothing. The Mavs got J.J. Redick, former Sixer from the Pelicans, for James Johnson, Wes Iwundu, and a second-round pick. So basically gave up nothing for J.J. Redick, who he's had a slight down year by his standards, but I really wanted to see J.J. Redick reunited with Joel Embiid and the Sixers because, you put him on our bench with George Hill. Now all of a sudden, your bench is one of the better benches in basketball now.
Yeah.
Look, I love JJ Redick. I do. I love JJ Redick. This deal isn't a moving, shaking deal. Like I know you have it written down on your fancy notebook because of JJ Redick and my love for him. But this doesn't move the needle any which way for either team.
But it would have moved the needle if made with other players. If JJ Redick came to the Sixers, you would think differently.
Well, but again, so in Philadelphia, and I think Kris can attest to this, we have a love for players, that nostalgia feeling. So, of course, on JJ Redick back on the team. But is he the right fit for this team right now? I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, the Sixers right now, I feel like just worry about Embiid getting back healthy. Keep working on some chemistry, some continuity with the guys going into the playoffs. And then, I feel like they have a chance to at least compete with Brooklyn to come out the East. I don't think they're far off. Like I said, I feel like they got better with their trade, and I'm not sure if adding JJ Redick would have helped or hurt or whatever have you. But I mean, can never have too much shooting, so I guess it couldn't have hurt too bad.
All right. I'll touch on one more trade.
All right, well, hold on. I want to tie into the Sixers thing because you just brought it in. And yes, Jason, I agree. Redick is your favorite college player of all time, of course.
Yeah.
Outside of Sir Kris Jenkins.
Yes, sir, Jason.
Surprised he even knows who you are. I mean, he's a Detroit guy. You know, he's a Michigan State fan. You know.
Oof.
We make mistakes from here and there. It's all right.
You hear that, Jason? You make mistakes sometimes.
So just tying into the Sixers thing, right? And you having, played some time in the G League, like having done these things, working your way through. Paul Reed is now looking to fill in some minutes while Joel Embiid comes back. What's that transition process going to be like for him?
I mean, it's probably a fast learning curve for him trying to get acclimated. But for the most part, as a player, man, these are kind of the things. Like, you don't wish anyone gets hurt. You never wish bad on anyone. But you always ask for your opportunity. As a player, you always say, look, whatever that may be, however that may come, I just want a shot. And right now, this young man getting ready to get his shot.
Right.
So that hopefully that's how he's approaching.
You got to be ready.
I'm going to just go out here and play.
Look, Tony Bradley took advantage of his shot. Now he's going to get regular minutes with the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder are pretty much just tanking it, to use that term. So he's going to get minutes, and he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Who knows? Tony Bradley might have taken his opportunity and turned it into a contract, Look at some of the guys in the process are the Rashawn Holmes and the other guys that are now playing and making good money in the NBA because they took advantage of their shot.
Look, Kyle O'Quinn played in the NBA for way longer than he should have. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a big man in this league and you can stand on your own 2 feet, you're going to get signed somewhere by somebody. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's getting his shot, man, and hopefully he makes the most of it.
Yeah. All right. So one more trade I wanted to touch on, because you did bring up the Celtics before. The Celtics got another guy the Sixers were looking for, Evan Fournier or Fournier, whatever. Don't Google his name. That's what he tweeted out, Don't do that. And all they gave up for him was 2 second-round picks. And, the Celtics have been a mystery this year, obviously. They have not performed. They've had some injuries. They had some COVID issues, whatnot and all. Fournier's kind of like George Hill. He's a really great veteran bench piece that they added there. Does he swing the needle and make them a contender per se? No. But, I mean, you got to think that if the Sixers were in on George Hill for 2 seconds, they could have been in on Fournier too.
Yeah, they definitely probably tried to, they at least, had a conversation with Orlando about Fournier. And, but yeah, the Celtics didn't do anything, like they didn't. I mean, what they do? Did they probably move up a seed or two? I mean, I guess we could argue that going into the playoffs, but they don't really put any pressure on anyone. They didn't, apply pressure or shift anything. So, I mean, we'll see, man. It's just going to be interesting. Like, the Celtics for a long, long time, they've had a lot of praise for how Danny Ainge has gotten so many picks.
Yep.
So many picks, these many picks. When it came to James Harden, he didn't want to trade this guy and that guy. And I'm like, well, you're just going to give him to Brooklyn? Like, I don't understand NBA teams, man. Like, I don't get it.
Well,
like
speaking
Miami not wanting to trade Tyler Hero in the James Harden trade. We don't want to put Tyler Hero. Like, what are y'all talking about?
They wouldn't put Tyler Hero in the Harden, the Lowry trade. I mean,
or the one
Tyler
today.
Hero's a nice kid, but is he really James Harden? No.
I mean, Tyler Hero's. He's okay. He played better in the bubble than he is now. Like, he's not doing anything to sweep us off our feet. Like,
so you brought up Harden.
Well, yeah, we've seen guys play well like this before, but that he's also shown us that he's not keeping it up.
I think that anything that that the Celtics did by getting Evan Fournier that made them a better team, they undid by trading Daniel Theis for Mo Wagner. They got worse at the center position drastically.
Oh man, I don't understand it, man. Maybe Danny sees something that we don't see.
Well, I mean, you played in a 4-guard set, right? That's what Villanova got known for. Does that translate to the NBA game?
Yeah, for sure. Because now the game is more spaced out.
Okay.
You got a lot more space to attack. More guys are more versatile that can shoot. The game is more fast paced. So having a 4-guard lineup definitely helps. It allows you to switch things on defense to help your defense. But when you do that, it's just the 5 that you have. It has to be serviceable. And do we think that about Mo? I mean,
no. And I actually think it puts more pressure. Yeah, I think it puts more pressure on Jason Tatum to move him out of the 3 more to the 4, and he's going against some big bodies in the paint, which isn't going to work well for him.
Yeah. So, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. You know, they made a lot of moves. Everybody tried to tell us them getting Kemba was going to be better and this and that. So, I mean, it's not looking good right now for the Celtics as far as like championship aspirations.
Right. So you talked to Harden you talked to Ainge not pulling the trigger for Harden. You know, obviously there the Sixers talk with Harden too. So like whether you're the GM of the Celtics, the Sixers, whoever else was in contention, how much would you have been willing to give up for James Harden? Would you have given up Ben Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, multiple for how like where should have been the line drawn on James Harden?
Yep.
Well, I think Houston was just trying to get more from the Sixers in general because the Sixers have more to offer.
Yeah.
Like they like what the Sixers could offer more than any other team, so they were going to try to take more. But I think the Sixers they were smart. Like they didn't want to give up Ben Simmons, Maxey, and all those picks that they had.
And
but at the same time, you got to think is James Harden, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, would that have been a better combination than they are now? And that's where it's tough for, GMs to kind of figure out. But, I mean, James Harden is one of the best basketball players I've ever seen. And I just did not understand teams not being more aggressive. Like, I really did not understand it. Like, the Celtics move, I don't think I'll ever understand that. Like, you trade Marcus Smart, you trade Jaylen Brown, you trade whoever.
Absolutely.
Bruh. Man, you buy. I'm going to holler at you.
I don't think the Nets gave up that much for James Harden. I think even if you take Ben Simmons off the table, the Sixers could have beaten that offer. I mean, I love Matisse Thybulle. Everybody loves Matisse. But Matisse, Maxey, as many first-round picks, peace out. Bring them. I mean, I would have held on to Ben Simmons if I could, but you get rid of all those pieces to get somebody like James Harden here.
Because this is what you can do. You trade those guys. You get your superstars. So now you got 2 legit superstars. 2 of them.
Right.
One's a guard. One's a big. Y'all can try to work it how Kobe and Shaq did, but Joel Embiid is a little more versatile, so it's going to be a little more inside-outside action. But where you could have really, really helped your team was signing veteran guys.
Right.
You can have veteran guys come in and fill those voids. Jamal Crawford is still out there. Like, there are guys that could have been picked up to make up for you losing Matisse Thybulle and Tyrese Maxey.
Right. Like, and if you look at like the Lakers, and if you look at like the Lakers and what they did last season, what they do, they brought in their big guys, LeBron and Anthony Davis, and what did they do? They filled with all the players who, let's call it like it is, they wanted a championship. Exactly. They did the same thing with Cleveland when LeBron was over there. They did the same thing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Tom Brady went there, and everybody signed minimum deals so that they could go get a Super Bowl. Like, there are certain players in this league that have that Pied Piper mentality that people just want to play with. And James Harden's one of those guys. Joel Embiid is becoming one of those guys if they make the deals. With that being said, I'm okay with them not giving up everything for Kyle Lowry and his expiring contract at age 36. I'm okay with them not giving up everything for James Harden. Yes, it would have helped, but you're also talking about a team that was clicking and retooling what they had already done when they were that high-class champion of the East currently and still are.
I mean, I honestly, I wouldn't have given up both Matisse and Tyrese Maxey for Kyle Lowry. And I would have given up either or if necessary. And I would have given up, again, draft picks galore for him. I would have made it work. I absolutely would have. Because, again, Kyle Lowry takes this team and takes you from a contender to a favorite, in my opinion. Yeah. And Matisse, everybody loves Matisse Thybulle, but can't you find a defensive wizard for the regular season? There's plenty of young kids that you can bring in here to play defense.
The Sixers had one. They just traded him to Phoenix on the draft night that they had him.
Yeah, exactly. So they basically traded him for George Hill because they traded him for Zahari Smith. They traded Zahari Smith for Tony Bradley. They basically traded Bridges for, George Hill. So, yeah.
You know what killed me about that trade? It was this, right?
Brutal.
They drafted him and then they did the whole thing like, oh, mom worked at the Wachovia Center and he was raised here and he's this and he's that. And everyone was like, yeah, let's get excited about him. And then they trade him 20 minutes later. I'm like,
did him dirty.
He's played himself into possibly a $90 million, $100 million contract his next time up.
Right.
Man.
Like he's a great ball player. All right. So the one deal that we haven't talked about, and we touched on it a little bit, but so the Miami Heat, I think the deal that happened at 3:08, so a little past the deadline, they were just getting the paperwork in. They get Victor Oladipo, who, like I said, is doing some things this year. All they give up is Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick.
First-round pick swap.
Excuse me.
They won the day. They won
that, and that's going to be one of my questions. Who won the day?
The Miami Heat won the day for sure because they got a former All-Star, like who said, who trains in Miami. So now he's going to be there with his trainers who's going to help them get back to how he was physically. And he's in Miami, where it's a great culture, great team atmosphere. They didn't give up any starters or any key major role players. And they didn't give up any draft picks. They just swapped their pick, which is probably going to be a high pick anyway, just because they're going to be winning. Pat Riley swindled the hell out of.
He always does.
But you're so happy on that deal. But does Oladipo really take the Heat from where they are, the middle of the playoff pack? Does it really make them a contender?
So
I don't think
remember that.
I don't know if it necessarily makes them a contender. I'm not sure if it makes them a contender, but it made them better considering they didn't give up anything. Usually when you
think about it,
you have to give up to get. They didn't give up anything.
Yeah, and think about it, like Jimmy Butler last season willed them as far as they got, right? It was the Jimmy Butler show. They didn't give up Bam. They didn't give up Tyler. They bring in Victor Oladipo. Like the Miami Heat got better from this trade. No question.
They went to the finals and got better. You know,
I'm just not as high on Victor as everybody else is.
I think when healthy, he's a good ball player.
He can play. That's what I'm saying. You can say that he's not what he was, or he's coming off a major injury, but that still makes them better because they didn't give up anything.
Yeah.
Literally, Kelly Olynyk, he didn't give up nothing there.
He's got a great head of hair, but I mean, he's a role player at best.
Think about it. They basically traded James Harden for Kelly Olynyk and some first-round draft picks. And you really put it all together. They traded James Harden for Kelly Olynyk and draft picks. This
is interesting right here, guys.
The GM of the Rockets hates Daryl Morey, and that's all. That's all it comes down to.
This is what's so mind-blowing to me about Houston and all the trades that they've made, acquiring all the draft picks and things like that. They didn't get any of the best players involved in any of the trades.
Yeah.
Yep.
They had to trade with Brooklyn. They didn't get Karis LeVert. They didn't get Jared Allen. Like they just got to trade with the Miami Heat. They lost Victor Oladipo. They didn't get any, but they didn't get any of the best players in any of the trades that they made. They're banking on their 9 draft picks, and like I said, hopefully you hit on one of those. Maybe we don't know.
I mean, look at all the first round picks the Sixers had in the process. Simmons and Embiid have worked out, but they had Okafor, they had Nerlens, Michael Carter Williams, Markelle Fultz. They had a lot of busts.
God,
So
that is my whole point. And those guys were number 1 picks, number 2 or 3 picks. Like, who's to say? Like, because of the way that they switched everything now, who's to say that Houston's going to get a top pick? They may get 14th.
Right. Like, and just
what
because
are we
even if they
doing,
do
guys?
pick high, I mean, right, even if they do pick high, who's to say? Like Jabari Parker was just cut, and everybody was high on him. So like, everybody puts a lot of stock in the draft. But please remember, Greg Oden was supposed to be dominant NBA player. You know what I mean?
I must say, I have to comment on that. Being a PG County kid growing up in that area, I don't think anyone in the you guys know basketball. And it didn't take me to see them play one game in the NBA. I saw Kevin Durant at Texas, and I saw Greg Oden at Ohio State. And I never thought Greg Oden was better than Kevin Durant.
Nope. Agreed.
So the fact that Portland has the worst draft luck, like they got lucky when they hit with Dame, but they skipped over Jordan and they skipped over Kevin Durant. They are cursed for life. 2 all-time greats.
And some reason Dame is choosing to stay there and continue his career instead of moving on. He could request a trade or not sign that big extension, but he stayed. He's
good there.
Yeah.
So one thing that was interesting to me about the trade deadline today is the teams that are supposed to be the big name contenders didn't make a whole lot of moves, right? Utah Jazz didn't make a big move. Sixers didn't make a big move. Lakers didn't make a big move. So they're banking on, look, let's see what we got. The team that I actually think won the day is the Denver Nuggets. So their new starting 5 is Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jokic. You still have Millsap coming off the bench. You have Morris coming off the bench. You just traded for JaVale McGee, who's a player in this league, a nice role player. I mean, a player. That's a team. He is a player in this league. He can contribute some things.
He's won 2 titles in the last 3 years.
So there's your playoff experience. I think the Denver Nuggets got better.
Are we going to credit him for that? We really about to do that?
No, absolutely not.
You can't take the rings away from him, though, can you?
You credit him like you credit LaShawn McCoy for his Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, All right. But one thing we can say about Shady, though. One thing we can say about Shady, at one point for a good stretch, he was the best running back in the NFL. We can never say JaVale was the best player in the NBA.
Yeah. We could, but we wouldn't have a sports show because nobody would take us seriously.
Yeah, the viewership would go.
I wouldn't take that seriously at all.
But I do. I look at the Denver Nuggets, and I think that the Aaron Gordon move makes them a better team. Now, does it push them past the Jazz? We'll find out. If the Lakers don't get healthy, because remember, LeBron's out for another 4 to 6 weeks, they're saying, we still don't know what's with Anthony Davis. That's a team that was built around LeBron. You're going to see that team start to falter pretty quickly.
Yeah. They're going to get ready to hit some tough times. They got to make some moves. They got to get on the phone. They got to start having some free agent workouts, get some older vets in there. They're going to have to make some plays, man. They're going to have to stay afloat because they can't afford to sink too far.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so trade deadline is come and gone. Now, there's still going to be pieces here and there. Looking at the East, looking at the West, whatever order you decide, looking at the second half of this season, who's in the finals? Who are the 2 teams to watch as of March 25th at 9:00 at night?
I mean, if the Lakers are healthy, I feel like they'll be back in the finals. And Brooklyn, I mean, they're a team that I've never seen anything like them before. So I definitely see that being a finals preview. But I definitely feel like the Sixers can throw a monkey wrench in there. Like if they're playing well, Joel Embiid is playing dominant, because that's where Joel Embiid can kind of keep the Sixers afloat, is where the Brooklyn Nets don't have anyone that can kind of contain him or compete with him.
Nope.
Because of his skill set and how he plays. And if he's able to control the game and control the series and spurts and things like that, I feel like that gives them the best chance, and they could definitely make some noise. But I mean, Kevin Durant's by the time he's going to be finished, he's going to be the top 5 player all time in my eyes. I mean, James Harden is one of the best players I've ever seen, and Kyrie Irving is one of the best scorers, finisher, ball handlers that's ever played in the NBA. So, I mean, you're looking at, well, you're going to have at least score 120. Like, that may be the benchmark, like, to be a competitive game. So, I feel like the Sixers may have enough to where they can get a couple games and apply some pressure if Brooklyn doesn't play any defense, because I feel like Joel Embiid can apply as much pressure as possible and keep the games close. And in the playoffs, coming down to the wire, if the games are close, I mean, momentum can shift anyway at that point.
Right.
Yeah, I just think that Brooklyn's big 3 individually is better than the Sixers' big 3. But if you look at the big 3 as a whole for Brooklyn and what else they've got around him, you look at the Sixers' top 7. I just think in a 7-game series, I don't want to sound homerish. I'll even take my Sixers hat off. I'm not a Sixers fan, okay? I'm just an NBA fan. I still think the Sixers have more than enough, not just to compete, but to beat the Nets in a 7-game series. Their defense will win out over the Brooklyn offense, because all you need one of those big 3 in Brooklyn to have a cold night, and they have nowhere else to go. Right. Who's their 4th best player? Joe Harris, who's a nice player, but come on, I'd take number 4, 5, or 6 on the Sixers over Joe Harris right now.
I think the thing that's so telling, go ahead.
I feel like the question is, though, is that 7 good enough to still outmatch the power of that 3? Like, we're talking about 3 of the most offensively gifted players to play in the NBA.
But they haven't really shown that they've gelled well together as a unit. The Sixers' big 3 play well together. The Brooklyn 3, they're 3 individuals, in my opinion, not a cohesive unit.
Right. And I think the telltale sign.
Yeah. Not a telltale sign.
No, I think the telltale sign is you look at the Sixers without Embiid for the past couple of weeks, and they're not getting blown out. So it's not like the team, while the team is built around Joel Embiid, we talked about this earlier on with when other players need to step up, they've been stepping up. When you look at the bench of the Nets, they don't have that. So if 2 of the big 3 are out for the Nets, if you can shut down the remaining guy or hold him to 25, you can beat the Nets. And they're a team that's been dealing with injuries a large chunk of the year.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing, though. Joel Embiid can't have a bad game.
Nope. True.
No, and I don't think we've ever seen anybody play 7 straight perfect games. And that puts them at a disadvantage at some point in the series as far as that, because if he doesn't score 40, they're gonna be down 8-10 going into the 4th quarter. Like that's gonna be a lot to overcome, because Kevin Durant and those guys aren't missing a lot of shots. Like, they don't miss a lot.
No, they don't. They may not have a lot of people to do the rebounding. They may not get a lot of rebounds, but they don't need to miss. They don't, because they don't miss a lot. That's a good point.
Like, those guys make a lot of shots, so it's definitely going to be a good back and forth. I definitely think coaching will play a part in the series between Doc Rivers and Steve Nash, who can put their guys in better situations. Who can take the stress, because it's going to be a lot of pressure in that series too. So it's going to be
big series. Big series.
I don't know if we've seen guys on the Sixers really handle pressure.
No, and you saw the last time when they played against the Celtics. I mean, it was just
that was a different team last year with the Celtics.
Correct.
You got Doc. You said coaching there. There's a major difference between Doc Rivers and Kevin Nash. That's a huge difference there in coaching experience.
Yeah,
I agree.
And one thing that I am curious about is why the Bucks did not make any moves. Right, the Bucks without Joel Embiid just barely snuck by the Sixers, which says to me that the Bucks are a good team, but they're a team that's in contention, and they might need 1 or 2 other players. They made no moves today.
I just feel like nobody wants to go there. They don't feel like they have a legit chance to contend. It's gonna be hard, man. Like who could they have gotten? Who would they have traded? Like who do they have that's appealing to other teams?
You said a key thing. Who do they have to trade? I mean, they've already made all their moves to keep Giannis locked up. They traded for Drew Holiday. They made trades at the deadline last year. They don't have draft picks to trade. They don't have young players. They don't even have expiring contracts. They literally they blew their wad last year in this offseason. They've got nothing left. So, that's why the Bucks didn't make any moves. They have no moves to make. They've made their moves and they're just not working out.
No,
so some things that we see.
Like they had anybody attractive that teams wanted, really.
Yeah.
So just so you know, I'm looking at the Twitter, some things that are coming out while we're chatting on the air. Number one, George Hill's going to come off the bench. Right. This isn't groundbreaking. He's another veteran. They're excited to have him. And Daryl Morey said that they're going to be hard to beat in a 7-game series. If we add another player in the buyout market, it'll be a big man. So everything that we know, there isn't anything groundbreaking there. It's just nice to kind of see that there's a logical plan of attack.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, Kris.
Hey, just trust the process.
Yeah, that's right. Trust the process, and that's where I'm trusting. There's a lot of there's one guy on the team that gets a lot of I don't know to say bad because he gets a lot of love and a lot of hate. Smaller player on the team, but Danny Green. A lot of people were like, just ship him out of town for anybody.
Yeah,
and I've kind of seen in the last couple months now. He's healthy. He's kind of integrated with the team. He's playing really well. He plays really good defense, and his shots finally starting to fall. What are your thoughts on Danny Green? Is it a good thing that they've kept him?
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, you want to have guys around because Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, they're fairly young. They have Thibault, they have Maxey, like they have some young guys around. So you want to keep, good professional veterans around them, championship pedigree, know what it takes to win, have been in crucial moments. Like you can't make up for experience and the knowledge that he could possibly pass down. And one thing about shooting comes and goes. So, that's just how it works. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned it, I can't have you on this show without talking about some shooting right quick. So, again, if you're just joining us, first off, you've missed a hell of a show. But we have with us Kris Jenkins from the NCAA champion Villanova Wildcats. Simply because of what I'm about to play. So I'm going to play something. It's about 30 seconds, and then we're going to talk about it just to refresh people's memories of good times past.
They would have to clear it. Watch this. And the recognition of Arch finding Jenkins. Miscommunication by North Carolina.
It's all the way.
How about that?
The officials on the far side have already walked away now after seeing it.
A national championship buzzer beater for the title. How good is that?
Big smooth.
Big smooth. I won't call him chubby anymore. What a set play, though.
All right. First off,
chubby. That's
there
really,
are some haters on there.
We couldn't cut that clip off 3 seconds sooner.
Listen, I don't make the videos. You know what I'm saying?
God, Bill Rafferty, man. Coach Raff, he cool.
All right, so before I ask anything else, just talk me through that. Talk me through the emotions, like the balls. And what was it? Explain how this feels to me.
Man, it's crazy, man, because everybody be expecting like some elaborate, crazy story. It's just something that I've been doing since I was like 3 or 4 years old. Like just shooting. Like I was open. I was shocked that I was that wide open, but once I got a clean look in rhythm, I mean, I don't think there was any doubt in anyone, honestly.
So I knew you were going to say no doubt that you're going to make it. I know there's no doubt you're going to make it. But did you have any doubt that you beat the timer? I mean, it was, 0.2 seconds from the time it left your hand to the buzzer going off? Were you confident in that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, I was in rhythm. I caught it in stride. Like, we knew time and score. I mean, it kind of just happened in a perfect way.
Perfect.
I didn't make any drastic movements or changes that would have took any time off the clock. So I just knew that, just just do what I do, man. It's what we've always done.
It's right up there is one of the top 2 or 3 most iconic moments in Philadelphia sports history. You'll be known for that.
Oh, for sure.
In Philadelphia for the next 100 years. Right up there with the Philly special and Brad Lynch striking out, to win the World Series. It's those things and that shot right there.
Hey, man, it's crazy to think about that. Like I never thought that. I was born in South Carolina, and then I moved to the DMV, grew up in PG County, right outside DC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never knew. Like, I'm an Eagles fan. I grew up an Eagles fan because of Terrell Owens. So,
yep,
there we go.
That's pretty much all I really, gave to the city of Philadelphia. So, like, I never really saw myself doing anything crazy like that. So, for y'all to put it like that, it's kind of crazy.
No, it's true. I mean, you're talking about a city that thrives on titles, and we're so starved for titles. So for Villanova, we're like, oh yeah, we're Villanova's. That's Philly. We're counting that. We're counting, and to come in such an iconic way. I mean, so Jay Wright calls the play. He says, "Kris, this is the play. You're going to be the guy." Were you just like, "Yeah, I'm going to be the guy"?
I didn't necessarily go like that. That's funny though. But if it would have happened like that, I would have just been like, all right, cool. Like, this is what we do.
Do it.
I mean,
winners want the ball in their hands.
Kobe Bryant would have it any other way.
Coach Willie, to quote Coach Willie McGinty, winners want the ball in their hands.
Hey, man.
Only a select few know that.
Who else would you rather have take the last shot? Not too many guys.
That's right.
No. Do you still talk to some of the guys from that squad? Like, do you still touch base with them?
Yeah, I still talk with all of those guys, man, even all the way down to the walk-ons. Like, I do a good job of staying in communication with, all my teammates from all 4 years, not just that season. But all my time.
And that's big. That's one thing that I love about Villanova is, you look at some of the schools like, your Kentuckys and your Dukes, and it's the revolving door. It's the one and move on. Villanova, that's not Villanova. You're there for your education. You're there for the program, and I'm a fan of what Villanova does.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, most of us that go there, I mean, we're not one and done. So, I mean, we know that.
Right.
So, for us to approach it with that mindset would be kind of foolish. But I'm pretty sure if Coach Wright were to get a one and done and he would fit into our program and things of that nature, he'll take him for sure. He definitely wouldn't say no.
So speaking of Coach Wright, there's always every year there's talk of him being the next NBA head coach from an X team. And we all try to say, he isn't leaving Nova, is he?
I blame Sixers fans for this nonsense, man. Like, every time the Sixers have a head coaching job, every time the Sixers have a head coaching job, man, they're like, "Yo, go get Jay Wright," and they feelings hurt every time. It's just like, for him to leave Villanova, an NBA franchise will have to offer him way more than just head coaching job. Like, that's just not enough. Yeah, like he's gonna make the same amount of money
up there on the main line,
He's going to make the same amount of money, same amount of publicity. Like, I mean, come on.
I look at it a different way. Like, I look at it as certain coaches are required to be in certain places. So I look at a coach like Jay Wright, and I go, Jay Wright is a college basketball coach. That's the age that he works with. That's the style that he does. He doesn't belong in the NBA. Now, could he do it and be successful? Absolutely. But he would be doing himself a disservice. We talked about early on, putting players in the wrong positions. I think that'd be putting a coach in the wrong position.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like Villanova was his dream job. So I feel like he's living out a dream still. Like, so I don't think he's not too pressed to go anywhere. Like, he could have took the Kentucky job a while back. They offered, however much money he wanted. But, I think he just really he's living out a dream at Nova. So,
all right. So look, I got to ask, because all of our brackets got absolutely destroyed. How's your bracket looking? And what you got this upcoming weekend?
Man, I ain't do a bracket. I only got one team every year, bro. So I feel like
love it.
Me doing the bracket.
I love that.
Like, Like, what's the point of me doing the bracket? Like I feel like everybody know who I'm gonna
pick. You got to put a little of the money on it. Then it changes your opinion.
I mean,
all right.
I don't bet on my guys just because I feel like they're gonna get it done regardless. So I just watch the game from an alumni fan perspective, and I bet on somebody else's team because for the most part, I know we're gonna do what we're supposed to. So it is a for sure win, but I don't put the money on our guys.
They got a tough one this weekend, right? No, you say they're going to get it done. They got Baylor this weekend. What do they have to do?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna just be honest with you guys. Like when you come to Nova to play the games and playing games like this. Like these are the reasons that you come to Villanova. Like we don't shy away from no big game moments. Like whoever got who, whatever, that don't matter, man. Like y'all got to beat us.
Yeah.
Okay. That at the end of the day, like, we gonna see if y'all can hoop for 40 minutes because we don't think y'all can do it. That's just how it goes.
I love it, man. I do. I love it.
And that's no disrespect to anybody else in that program or any other players, but it's just a mindset. It's just how it is. Like they said the same thing about us on our run. That they're gonna lose to Iowa in the second round. Then they're gonna lose to Miami. They're definitely not gonna beat Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Now they play Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's gonna win the championship his senior year. So it's just like. And then nobody picked us to beat America's College. Like now, so that's just what we do, man. Like that's just how it go.
True.
And plus, I can count. I'm pretty sure I can count on one hand how many football schools ever beat us, though. So I'm not too sure how many football schools can beat us. So I got to see it.
All right.
That was me. No, I'm good now.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. So, all right, let me ask you this. What are you promoting? What are you all about? Talk to us a little bit about, life after college. What is Kris Jenkins, as you see the question there, what do you support? Talk to me. What's big in your world?
Hey, man, I support people being good people, no matter what you look like, straight up. So that's the charity I support. People that do good things. And for me, man, so I've been playing professionally a little bit. I had a little injury. So I take care of some hip stuff. So I've been rehabbing, working out, just getting my feel back, seeing if I got any more high-level basketball left in me. So pretty much that's what I've been doing, just staying safe out here in these crazy times, focusing on my mental, staying sharp, getting certain help when I need it, because being an athlete, getting hurt, feeling like you should be at a certain point, that could weigh on you mentally. So just making sure that I have somebody to talk to, making sure that I just, like I say, I can't ask other people to be good people and not be a good person myself. So I just try to be the best person I can be every day. And basketball, I feel like I do that regardless. So basketball is basketball, but just trying to be a good person, trying to spread as much knowledge when people ask me questions, and just give back speaking to people, bro. Like I had so many people help me along the way. Like, yeah, it was a bumpy road and everything wasn't peachy, but I just felt like I had a lot of people that gave me a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, through my life journey to these 27 years that I've been going through this. So, just trying to be a good person, man, especially in the times that we in now, man, where everybody feel like they got a voice and they can say and do whatever they want. How about
a lot of keyboard warriors?
Yeah. How about we take that free voice and that open-mindedness and do something positive with it, try to help some people,
I love that. I'm a middle school teacher, so like everything that you just said, I'm gonna play for my students. I'm gonna take that clip and I'm gonna play for my students. Because that's it, just being a good person. We saw in the news last week people being, just messed up to Giovanni. It's like he supports his player. Like, I'm not about that life. We're all about the birds. We don't believe in any of this this drama stuff as being mean to one another. So I appreciate you for saying that. I respect you for saying that. My friend, thank you for coming on, man. This was awesome.
Nah, this was love, man. I appreciate y'all for having me, taking the time. Tell everybody to go follow me, man. Let's go crazy.
That's what I was about to do.
Move.
So we are all about the birds.
Twitter, y'all.
It is right there. We are all about the birds. I am Chip. That is Phil. This is Kris Jenkins, Philly legend, Villanova legend. You can see all of his Twitter handles, smooth2u_, and on Instagram, smoothjenkins2. Make sure you give the man a follow. Make sure you give all of us a follow. You can hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. This will be replaying a whole bunch. Gentlemen, this has been a good time.
That's right.
We normally end everything with Go Birds because
change it up.
Because it's all about the birds. But I think tonight we got to throw up our V's for Nova Nation because we got Kris Jenkins up here. Nova Nation. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Hey man. Hey, but it's still Go Birds forever though. That's right.
Still Go Birds for sure.
Forever.
Go Birds.
That's what all about the birds is.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Titty boo.
Thank you.